104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports. We are happy to be joined by friend of the show, friend of the station, George Sedano, the new host of ESPN LA, and he has a new show launching on ESPN2, George Sedano. Now, George, we know that there's breaking news, some new developments coming out of Miami with Chris Bosh.
Yeah, it looks like, according to the Miami Herald, who were the first to break this story, Barry Jackson, who's an excellent reporter down there, reports that Chris Bosh failed his physical with the Miami Heat, that they found more clotting. So if that is indeed the case, it would be the third time that Chris will be dealing with some clots. And so they failed the physical with him. So I know Chris has been trying to get back on the floor, and it looks like that's not going to happen, at least with the Miami Heat.
So it seems as if, is it too early now to say his career is over?
It may be a little too early, because now it's about whether, the league is going to have to figure out Chris's rights situation. He's getting all his money from Miami regardless, but if there's a way to renounce his rights, if another team was willing to bring him in and then clear him, then he could potentially play. But honestly, guys, I just look, I'm not a doctor, but my guess is it's going to be very difficult for any team to take a chance on Chris, knowing that this is the case with his medical condition.
If Chris Bosh is out, is there any way the Miami Heat can be a contender in the Eastern Conference?
No, I didn't even think they were a contender with Chris Bosh this season. I thought at best they were a 7 or 8 seed with a healthy Chris Bosh. I don't see there's any way that they're not a lottery team this year. Look, and that's not to say that they don't have good young players, and obviously Eric Spoelstra is an excellent coach, but the East is better. The East is better than it's been in a couple of years, and it's pretty deep. The last year, the 3 through 6 seeds were basically, all 48-win teams. So basically, to get into the playoffs, you're going to have to win about 45 games, and I don't see Miami doing that this season.
Now, George, first of all, I just want to make clear, Chris Bosh's health is number one on my list, but saying that Miami is going to be a lottery team, does that mean it opens a spot for my Knicks to make the playoffs?
I don't think the Knicks are making the playoffs either, though. That's sorry. I apologize. I know you guys are big Knicks fans there, but I don't think the Knicks are making the playoffs either. Look, dude, you look at that team, right? You've got Joakim Noah, Carmelo Anthony, Derrick Rose, and Brandon Jennings. How many good legs are there on those 4 guys? Maybe 3?
2?
Maybe 4? I don't know. Right. That's not good. So to me, that's the problem. Everyone's talking about Joakim like he's the guy from 3 years ago, and he's not that guy anymore. He's got a bum wheel. So does Melo, even though Melo's isn't as serious as the other guys. Brandon Jennings has been a sack full of injuries. So is Derrick Rose. I know people are saying, well, Derrick played 65, 66 games last year, and he shot 50% in the second half of the year. All right, that's all fine. But give me a larger sample size of the last 5 years, and I'll determine that Derrick Rose is probably not going to make it through the season healthy this year.
104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio, Levack and Goz with George Sedano. So last night's game, let's switch gears, talk NFL real quick. The Patriots go out there with a third-string quarterback, a phantom appearance by Gronk, and they still shut out the Texans. Will the Patriots ever lose again?
God, man. Well, they will lose again, yes, but what does this say, right, about Tom Brady? And look, I'm not trying to say that his legacy should be diminished. This isn't like a hot take or anything like that. But what it says is Bill Belichick is one bad mother you-know-what, right? Bill Belichick has not only won with Jimmy Garoppolo and Matt Castle, he's now won with a third-string quarterback in Jacoby Brissett, who, look, in college was highly recruited, right? Went to Florida, had to transfer, though, because he wasn't even, he didn't fit there. Went to NC State, played all right. He was an all-right college player, and Bill Belichick just won 27-0 against a playoff team. That's the first shutout they've had since 2012. That's embarrassing for the Texans, but more so, it's impressive by Bill Belichick. And it goes to show you, and this isn't a shot at Brady, but the pecking order in New England is definitely Belichick on top. Brady then is the next guy in line as far as their success is concerned. And I don't know if I'd say that about any other coach-quarterback tandem in the league's history, let alone right now.
Let me just, for a blog writer later, George Sedano quote, Tom Brady's just a product of the system.
No, come on.
Say that.
Come on. Why are you trying to do that to me?
I would never.
Somebody will, though, for sure.
No doubt.
Oh, the Patriot fans in the area are sitting there going, how dare you?
Well, wait a second. I mean, how would the Patriots fans get mad? I'm sitting there crediting their coach. Well, they'll get mad about anything.
Yeah,
let's be honest with each other,
you have to say that Brady is the most amazing human being to ever walk the earth, and that Belichick is the smartest. and then Gronkowski is the prettiest.
You know what?
You got to get everything just perfectly.
Let's shift gears because this is a New York sports station. If we keep talking about Boston teams, people are
They get mad at you guys.
Right, so we're going to go right to the New York matchup this weekend between Josh Norman and Odell Beckham Jr. What do you think is going to happen, and what do you want to happen as a fan?
Oh, man, I want those two to keep going at it, dude. Like, that to me, like, we just don't have enough of those, like, interpersonal rivalries, in sports, those individual rivalries in sports anymore. We used to have them so much in the 80s and 90s. I don't think we just get enough of them. So I'd like to see them continue where they left off, basically. And if they can do that, that'll be entertaining enough. I will say this. I feel like Josh Norman is suffering from that Redskins curse, man. Like, you're a free agent, you go to Washington, it doesn't work out generally for you. And I feel like he's kind of suffering from that. I do think, though, that Odell Beckham is a better talent than Josh Norman, and I think that we'll find that out this weekend, too.
He is the host of ESPN LA, George Sedano, right here on 104.5 The Team.
We'll go to the cornerback now for the New York Jets, and that's Darrelle Revis. His future, like everyone says he's getting toasted right now. Do you think he can still be a solid top 10 corner in the league, or, as Levack has suggested, is it time to start thinking about maybe Revis at safety?
Yeah, I agree with Levack. I think it's time to look, man. Rod Woodson did it. Okay, if Rod Woodson can move to safety, anybody can move to safety. You're talking about a guy who was on the 50th anniversary team as a corner. Like, that to me is not a slight. Like, he'll play a corner this year, but I think moving forward, that's what he's going to have to try to do, because I think he clearly is one of the most intelligent players in the league in the secondary, but sometimes your body fails you, man. You can't catch up like you used to, and I think that he's going to eventually have to make that move. Whether they do it now or later, it's going to happen.
Sedano, you side with me on that one. The other one that we're having an argument about, and I mean, we're pulling you all over the place, but I know that you've got a handle on multiple facets.
Yeah,
of
man,
sports.
listen, they just threw me up on SportsCenter, and I had to answer like a gazillion questions about a million different sports, so don't worry, man. Like, it's all good.
Perfect. So, all right, so here's the other argument of the show right now. I'll openly admit I'm a Yankee homer. I think Gary Sanchez is the Rookie of the Year. Gaz tells me I'm wrong. Where do you fall on this?
Yeah, I'm with you. Look, I think that extraordinary people create extraordinary circumstances, and I think that's what he is. He's extraordinary in every which way or form. And let's not forget that in 2013, Will Myers won the Rookie of the Year with worse numbers than Gary Sanchez has right now, even though he didn't play as many games. I get it. But that's the way you just have to look at it. Look, every situation has to be taken on its own. I think in life you should handle your business that way and not sit there and just say, well, it's unprecedented, so we shouldn't do it. No, that's silly. That's why eventually something becomes the precedent, right? So, yeah, I'm with you. Gary Sanchez, Rookie of the Year, all the way.
George Sedano is a brilliant man, as proven right now, right here on 104.5 The Team. George, you got a new show launching, ESPN LA.
No, ESPN LA is the show, the radio show I work on now. I work in Los Angeles with Keyshawn Johnson and LZ Granderson, but I'm actually just ESPN's George Sedano now. I am no longer just ESPN Radio or ESPN LA. I am just ESPN's George Sedano now, which means I'm doing a TV show that'll air weekly on Mondays on ESPN2, 5 p.m. Eastern. So I'd love for all the folks there to DVR it. My co-host on the show is Marley Rivera. She actually covered the Yankees for a very long time for ESPN. She covers Major League Baseball in general for us now. She's on Wednesday Night Baseball. So, yeah, she and I are going to go at it. We're going to talk a lot. Bernardo Osuna is also one of my co-hosts. He's our big boxing guy and combat sports guy. So the show is called Nación ESPN. I know what you're thinking. Oh, is the show in Spanish? No, it's actually in English. The only reason it's called Nación is because, hey, there's 3 Hispanic people on there, so why the hell not? You know what? So let's do it that way, and that's what we decided to do. But it'll air weekly, Mondays, 5 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. It'll be all in English. We're going to have some fun. Think of it like we're like the little cousin of Sports Nation, right? Like, that's probably the best way to describe it.
All right, because now the reason I got confused is the ESPN. I always hear you here, like, you know what I mean. Like, I just assume you're here. You're
right.
Our dude. So
right.
I'm sorry for my confusion.
I'm now bi-coastal, dude. Like, that's it. Like, I'm everywhere, all day, every day. I'm doing radio in the mornings in Los Angeles. I'm doing TV on the network, and that's it. Just no more ESPN Radio Network. But yeah, I'm just now as I think the best way to title me up is just ESPN's George Sedano. But if you have LA questions at some point, like, you know, if the Yankees find their way into the playoffs and then all of a sudden have a magical run, right, and they end up playing the Dodgers, then you and I could talk a lot.
Well, I have an LA question. How does Jeff Fisher keep a job?
Oh, dude, don't even get me started on that, dude. I mean, you want to talk about one of the most overrated coaches in all of sports, let alone history. I mean, or let alone just now, and in his particular sport. The guy even made mention of it in Hard Knocks. Yeah, no more bleeping 7 and 9 stuff. Like, even he's aware of the 7 and 9 jokes. Like, what does that say about him? But here's the reality. Jeff Fisher is an L.A. guy. He went to USC. So now that they're in L.A., they're not going to have a stadium for another 3 years. So they figured, give him a 3-year extension. We'll see what he does in the next 3 years, even though he's already been there like 4 or 5. Well, at least with the team when they were in St. Louis. And then, when the stadium is built and ready to go, if the team is headed in the right direction, they keep him. If not, they let him go at that point, and then they bring in a new coach with their fancy new stadium.
Multi-talented, brilliant man who agrees with me on my bigger arguments with guys. I can't say enough about ESPN's George Sedano. We really appreciate your time, and while you're jet setting back and forth, we'll call you again if that's cool.
Brother, you got it anytime. Whenever you guys call, I will be there. I am always a radio guy at heart, so I love talking to my radio guys.
See, but you're pretty enough to do TV. It's not fair. I'm just a radio guy because you don't want to see me on TV.
Man, you know what? I got to take advantage of something, right? I'm 39 years old, and I look like I'm like 16 sometimes. So you know what? It's got to work in my favor at some point, right? So TV it is then.
So we love you, brother.
You got it, guys. Anytime.